Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali, and today I'd like to talk about radical transformation through breaking bones. Now, it may come as a surprise, even as a shock, when I say that probably radical transformation happens when we truly break our bones. And this was best demonstrated in the movie Three Idiots. So, this movie over here not only delivered one message, but it delivered a multitude of messages in very nuanced, in very beautiful, and in very subtle ways. And one message, or probably a diversification of that one message through two messages, was shown through these two scenes. So of course there are few of the main characters, but there are also the supporting characters or the supporting pillars that add to the strength of those main characters. And one of those characters was called as Joy. Now Joy was shown as the student in his engineering class, really loving the art and the process of becoming an engineer. And unfortunately, just by a little delay, he is unable to do his submission on time. And so he goes to the head of this college asking for one extra day to be able to do his submission, to be able to submit the project that he's really worked hard upon, about the project that he's really excited upon. In fact, his batchmates, his college mates also later find out that he's almost completed the project and probably needed just few hours. And so this person feels so demotivated, so deflated that he takes his own life. In one context, we can of course say that it was his duty to put things on time and he was delayed. Now that's his responsibility. And of course he can take another chance by doing the same thing over and over again for another year. And of course we can also say that he was weak at heart and not resilient enough to be able to withstand that pressure. And then there's another aspect which also tells us just through his name that when we put joy in a pressure cooker, we can kill life. When joy is put inside the pressure cooker, joy kills itself. Because over here, there was yet another aspect shown to the equation of joy, that joy multiplies when it's shared with others as well. And so when one of his classmates sees the thing that he has made, sees the thing that he has built up, sees the thing that he has created, and then he runs around showing it to others, it's everybody's joy multiplying at the same time. But unfortunately, the joy, both physically and metaphorically, that had created that beautiful project had taken its own life, had suffocated its own self. And in keeping with the same idea about radical transformation, there was another scene wherein it was shown that there's another student, Raju, who like Joy tries to take his own life, tries to commit suicide, but invariably ends up breaking his bones. And then he is hospitalized. Now after he is hospitalized, he comes to understand his own support mechanisms. He comes to understand people whom he can truly count upon, two of his very close friends. They do everything within their own power to get him back to life. They do everything within their own power to get him back to stand up on his own feet. And that is where radical transformation happens. And invariably, very subtly through that scene, the movie is also trying to tell us that at times it is essential to break our bones, metaphorically, to be able to have a radical transformation, to be able to find our own empowerment, to enable ourselves to stand on our feet, and to also recognize at the same time that at times it's also essential to find our own mechanisms that help us sail through that enable us become a better version of ourselves, that enable us empower our own selves. And at times that support mechanism may not necessarily be through the familiar roots, the familiar communities, the familiarity of things, but at times it may be through building newer communities. It may be through finding newer friendships. It may just be understanding that at times familiarity can also be our biggest hindrance. So how about also understanding that joy gets killed, or joy suffocates itself to death when it's put in undue pressure. Now, I'm not saying that pressure is not good. In fact, we even need our optimal blood pressure levels to survive. But there's a bandwidth to that optimal blood pressure. There's also an optimal pressure required for the water to flow through our taps. But if that optimal pressure is exceeded, the pipelines may just burst, or the water, if it is below that optimal pressure level, may just not reach our taps. And there's always a bandwidth to that pressure level. And that optimal pressure level builds up resilience rather than breaking things or breaking people. And at times, for us to evolve into a better version of ourselves through transformation, it is essential to metaphorically break every single bone as well, and then have the support mechanism and the capacity to start rebuilding a newer structure, a newer bone structure as well. And unless we are willing to look at these nuances, we'll keep regurgitating the same things over and over and over again, expecting different results, which in fact doesn't really happen. So let's try and think about these finer, subtle nuances as well, because unless we are willing to engage ourselves with the very obvious and the not so obvious, it'll be very difficult for us to become aware of ourselves, to start developing our own selves, to start evolving our own selves. So let's try and do that, not only for ourselves, to honor ourselves, but also to enable others whom we interact with do the same for themselves. Let's try and reflect on all of the obvious and the not so obvious ones. Let's try and understand the bigger picture as well as the details that makes the bigger picture. And I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contents of my videos, please do like, share and subscribe.